Good morning. Thanks for tuning in. Today we've got a webinar for 1 hour. We're going to be talking about how to generate powerful Facebook posts and how to track your success. Just a little bit about me before we get out of the gates. I've been a Rotarian for a couple of years. I retired 2 years ago after about 30 years of marketing. So I have a pretty good comfort level for communicating and communication strategies. I'm currently the chair of the district PR committee. Just started that position a couple months ago. If you have any questions about today or any questions about PR in general as it relates to your club or the district, just please do give me a phone call or reach out to me an email. I'd be happy to chat with you. Okay, for today, we've got a jam-packed session. So I'm going to ask you, you're currently muted right now, so there's no kind of interaction going on. It's going to kind of be me and the content. That said, if you do have a question, please use chat. If we see a common theme kind of pop up over the course of the next hour, I'll address it in real time. If not, we'll try to tackle all those questions at the very end of the session. For the record, a copy of this presentation is going to be posted on the district website. If you go to the PR page and look in the bottom left-hand side of the nav bar, you'll see a title called Powerful Facebook Posts. That's where you can find this presentation. It's also going to be recorded and put up on our district's YouTube page, and so you can find a recorded version of that or this session there. I will be sending this out to anybody who registered for this webinar, so you should see that coming into your email sometime within the next day or so. Okay, so you may have seen this in the invitation, lots to cover. We're going to talk about power of Facebook. We're going to talk about Facebook's algorithm and how important that is. We're going to talk about some essentials on how to drive engagement of your Facebook posts, and then getting specifically into the power of video, images, talk a little bit about copy and hashtags and tags, advocates. Then we're going to talk about some great places you can go to borrow content, spend a few minutes on helpful publishing tools, and then finally finish off with tracking your success. Just a quick FYI to get the most out of today's session. It's the basic assumption is you're already using Facebook and you understand how to put a basic post onto Facebook, whether that's as the PR person within your club or just a user who's using it with friends and relatives and whatnot. So if you can do this, you probably get the most out of today's session. Things I'm not going to cover. I'm not going to cover Facebook Live, Facebook Stories, or kind of ephemeral content stuff that disappears quickly. Events, boosts, or paid ad. If you want to let me know through chat or email, if that's something that interests you, we could pull together another webinar on that in the coming months. I'd be happy to pull that together for the benefit of clubs. We do have a webinar on Instagram coming your way. I believe it's in October, so we'll cover that social media platform at that point in time. Okay, just a quick note. Successful Facebook posts are, if you think about the baseball analogy, we had our home opener yesterday. Blue Jays won 6-4, yay. This is not about hitting the home run and winning the baseball game that way. This is about singles, putting men on base and working around the bases till you get the score. So we're going to cover a lot of things today. Some things are more important than others, but there's no home run ball where you pop it over the fence and all your problems are solved. So with that, hang on, hang tight. Here we go. We're gonna keep it moving. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the power of Facebook. But first, we have to address the elephant in the room. Facebook is no perfect corporate citizen. There are lots of issues with Facebook, particularly right now with anti-privacy issues and alt-right hate speech, and a lot of it percolating out of the US market. They are no angels. That said, they are still a very powerful communication platform to work with. In Canada, we've got roughly 24 million users on Facebook, and about 3/4 of them use the platform each and every day. So a lot of power here. If we could dance with somebody else from an ethics and values and moral standpoint, I'd love to, but at this point in time, it's really the go-to social media platform if we want to get our word out. Okay. One of the reasons that makes it so is the fact that it is used by almost all age cohorts at, at a high level. So if we take a look at younger people, middle-aged people, and somewhat older people, all those three large age groups use Facebook. Platforms like Instagram tend to be skewing towards much younger people. Twitter, generally not used as nearly as much as Facebook. So that's what makes this platform so appealing. So why do we use it? No secret, it lets you get your message out to people who have an interest in your message, your followers, people that have either on your personal profile, become your friends, or on your club page have become your followers. And more importantly, it gets to people who are friends of your followers. And we're going to see later on in this presentation how powerful that can be. Any questions, Barb?
There's a question about stats. Are there stats for TikTok?
Stats for TikTok. Now, I'll take a note. I'll see if I can update that page and get TikTok added to that graph. Okay, so Facebook's algorithm, bit of a scary word there. It's basically, a mathematical tool that Facebook uses to run its business. The algorithm, and it's something that is evolving and changes. Facebook has changed its algorithm probably a dozen times in the past 10 years. It's in a substantive way. But basically, it's the software behind Facebook that decides which posts any given user will see at a point in time. Okay. Why is that important? Oops, this is not working. The more we know about how their algorithm works, the greater the chance we'll actually have of creating posts or ads, if we want to use ads, that will show up on our followers' Facebook feed. So, it's kind of understanding, we don't have all the numbers of the combination for the lock, but if we know, twice to the left, once to the right, and twice to the left, there's a greater chance that we're going to be able to crack that combination and get that lock open. Okay. Okay, so here's the reality, and a lot of people actually don't even know that. On average, every time you post, I'm going to use the language of posting to a Facebook page. So I'm going to make the assumption that people on this call today are in some way responsible for putting content on their club's page. So that's the language you're going to use. So on average, every time an individual posts something on their club's page, it only gets shown to 5% of their followers. So if your club has 100 followers, 5 of them will see your message. 95 of them will not see your message, which is a concern. So it kind of, makes you wonder, why am I doing all this work for just 5 people to see a message? Well, the good news is you can break the average if you know a couple of simple rules, and that's really what we're here to talk about. You can drive your post beyond 5% on average consistently through some tricks of the trade and knowing the algorithm. A lot of people just frankly don't know the algorithm. So why only 5%? Well, no surprise. Facebook is an advertising company. They want you to buy ads. So they want you to send them a check for, X dollars so that you can reach the other 95% of users on a regular basis. That's kind of the secret of Facebook. Once upon a time, that number was well above 5%. But as Facebook has become more and more successful, and more people are using the platform, it's causing that 5% to go down. The reality is every time a user logs on to Facebook, they have up to 1,500 posts or ads competing to appear in their newsfeed every time. So the algorithm is trying to figure out, okay, of these 1,500 potential messages, which ones are we actually going to show to John Smith, who lives in Barrie? Well, that's what the algorithm is there for. It's going to figure out which messages are most relevant to show to John Smith. And the reason for that is simple. If Facebook wants to be a successful, thriving company, it's got to be relevant to each and every user. And so they want to make sure that John Smith and Barrie, every time they log into the Facebook page, he's seeing stories or ads that are right up his alley. It's content he's going to be interested in. It's content he's going to stick with, so that, he just doesn't log out of Facebook in 2 minutes. He stays on Facebook for the next half hour and sees all kinds of content that works for him. So that's the reality of the scenario of Facebook right now in terms of what gets through to users and the importance of the algorithm. Okay. So I like to think of the algorithm a little bit like a feedback loop. So if you've ever been to a wedding and the groom's up there and he's talking on the mic and he gets a little too close to the speaker, all of a sudden you kind of have this feedback loop and you've got the screeching sound happening louder and louder through the speaker because the sound from the microphone, the sound from the speaker is being picked up by the microphone and it's being reamplified and reamplified and reamplified. That's what the algorithm's looking for. It's looking for constantly looking at every post in real time to figure out whether it's getting engagement, whether it's being read, whether it's being commented on. And as soon as it sees that, it starts to share that message with more and more people. So you start to break beyond the 5% to maybe 10% or 15% if and when the algorithm sees that there's a message that people find interesting. Okay, so the kick is, or the key is to try to get your content noticed right out of the gate so that that algorithm starts to work in your favor. So here it is. Here's the secret sauce. What is it that the algorithm is looking for? First and foremost, it's looking for a post that generates strong emotional reactions. So often we talk about the word likes. You know, did my post get any likes? Likes are good. You know, the thumbs up, that's good. But you know, the algorithm will recognize that. But what the algorithm is really looking for is people who give it a love button or a ha-ha button, something a little bit more, you know, juicy. And that helps notify the algorithm that, hey, there's something here that people are reacting to, some emotional content. So that's first and foremost what the algorithm is looking for. Secondly, the algorithm is looking for comments on a post. So if a post generates one comment, that's good. If it generates several comments, that's even better. If there are comments on comments, which we would call a discussion, somebody says something and somebody responds to what that one person said within the comment section, that's golden. That means that there's real discussion going on of a substantive matter, and Facebook sees that as relevant, and that's what it starts to, you know, get the algorithm excited about sharing that post with other people. If a post gets shared, that's good. The algorithm is going to recognize that. If a post gets reshared, i.e. somebody who shares it to a friend and then that friend shares it with somebody else, that's kind of as close to a home run in algorithm talk as you can get, because that means that it's got some real social value, that the message is starting to be shared organically. And then finally, the algorithm recognizes consistent contributors. So if you've got a page and you put a post up there once every 3 weeks, and it's a good one, great, you know, that's good for you. You've got a good post. But if you're there posting something, let's say once a day, every day, the algorithm recognizes your behavior and it's going to reward that, because Facebook, again, back to the community idea, it wants a large community of people that are trying to post relevant content, and it's going to reward people that at least put the effort in and put something out on a daily basis.
Should you be reposting your same message 2 or 3 times?
You can repost your message 2 or 3 times. Now, if it's not relevant to begin with, it's probably not going to be relevant the second time around. So it may go to see 5 people the first time. If you repost it, chances are it's going to go to many of that 5% again. Not the end of the world, because, you know, there is some value in a repetition of a message, but you just have to understand there are some limitations to reposting content. I wouldn't avoid it, but I wouldn't go crazy with the idea either. Can everybody hear when Barb talks? I want to make sure that I forgot to re-ask the question there, but I want to make sure everybody got that. Other things. So content that is native video. So this is a video file that you've taken and uploaded to Facebook. That's known as native video. A video that's been shared from, let's say, YouTube onto a Facebook page, that's not native video. That video resides on YouTube server. We want this video content to be on Facebook server. So the algorithm will reward native video and at least videos that are 3 minutes long. So the algorithm can identify how long your video is as you post it, and it wants longer video. Now, obviously, a 3-minute video that is really boring and everybody, you know, essentially gets ignored isn't a lot of value. But the ingoing assumption is longer is better, because that'll keep people on the Facebook platform for longer, and Facebook's algorithm rewards that. In the absence of video or the absence of 3-minute videos, simple animation is okay too. So a GIF file where you take, you know, just simple moving images. Humans are interesting characters. We have a tendency to notice things that move and change. So static images are good. Simple animations better. Um, and then finally, I mentioned images are good. Tags are good as well. So the idea of tagging somebody or some organization in the copy that may be associated with your post is always good, because that creates social media. As when you tag somebody in a comment, they're notified that they've been tagged. They will approve it, hopefully, and then that creates the churn, if you will, of social engagement amongst people um, that may have an interest in that content. Okay. So that's it. This is the take home. This is the money page. If you do this consistently, you will definitely have more engagement. Okay. So a couple things to avoid. We talked about this already. Avoid posts that have links to video. Facebook does not want you leaving their platform to go to YouTube. That's the competition. So avoid that if you can. Not always possible, but if you can. Avoid links that take you to weak websites. So if a weak website is one that has very low traffic, is poorly designed, has dead ends. Again, Facebook has the power to examine the links that you use, and if it's a crappy link embedded within your copy, there's a less of a chance it's actually going to share your post, because ultimately it doesn't want its users to have a bad experience. Clickbait, which is exaggerated claims, you've seen them before. Avoid that. Their algorithms can pick off the type of language that is used in exaggerated claims and clickbait. And outright asking for likes and shares and comments, don't do that. Seems like a great idea, but again, their algorithm looks for that type of language and will not share posts that has that type of language in it. Okay. Okay, how to drive engagement. Some simple rules here. Always, always, always post with a purpose. Every time you think about putting a post, you got to think about who's the message for. Is it for my current club members? Is it for people I want to attract for my club? Is it for businesses in my community I want to attract to Rotary? Is it for volunteers for an event that may be coming up that's organized by Rotary? Always have a target. Think about what the message you want to communicate them and why they'd be interested in that message. Obviously, people will engage with messages that are more interesting. What response do you want to generate? What's the call to action? Do you want them to sign up to volunteer for something? You want them to go to a page to learn more about something? Or you just want to give them a link to, or have them watch a video so they can become educated on something? So every time you have a post, go through this little checklist and make sure you have a very, very clear purpose. It's very simple. It's easy not to do. You can get excited about an idea, and you just go to the computer and you start tapping away, and boom, it's posted, and you realize, oh man, a day later you realize, that could have probably been better if I put 5 more minutes of thought into it. So slow down, think about quality over quantity, and make sure whatever you do post it has a clear purpose. We talked a little bit about targeting just then. As Rotarians, we have lots of potential targets for our messages. Really understand who your target is for a given message, and it could be more than one person. Because if you know your target, understand what the purpose of the message, you can generate more engagement. And again, it's just a little bit of self-reflection in terms of what you're doing and how you're doing it can go a long way. Okay. Okay, some pragmatic help here. This is a color chart on the left-hand side. We have the days of the week, and the bottom of the chart we have the hours of the day. It's a funny reality that most posts within Facebook generate engagement kind of in the middle of the week, in the middle of the day, most notably in around lunchtime. So this could be people at home, on their couch, or it could be people at work who are looking for something to do in and around lunchtime, and they go to their feed, use their mobile phone or their tablet, or maybe even their computer at work, and check out what's going on in the world of Facebook. So because Facebook is a feed, i.e. newest stories usually appear at the top of individuals' feed, the best time to post is when people are online looking at stories. And so it's not to say that you shouldn't be posting, let's say, on the weekend where, engagement seems to be light. But if you are going to only do 3 or 4 posts in a given week, probably best to look at, anywhere between Tuesday and Friday in the middle of the day. It's going to increase your chances that your post will actually generate some kind of engagement. Okay. Post often consistently. I talked about this. So if you've got slightly different messages, different targets, your 5% can turn into far more than 5%. Now, you may only hit every single message may only talk to 5% of your followers, but if you do, 8 messages over the course of a week, and each message is targeted at somebody different with a different interests or a different message, you can certainly broaden your reach or increase your reach by increasing your frequency. And again, the algorithm kind of rewards that type of behavior. Okay, so those are the basics. Now we're going to talk to you a little bit about the power of video.
Especially if they can't hear me. Is it okay to have one page and post personal, Rotary, and business messages, or do there are separate pages for?
So the question is, it better to have separate pages for personal, Rotary, and business, or everything on one page? If you are responsible for your club's Facebook page, that page should only be Rotary stuff. Shouldn't be personal, shouldn't be business. If you're talking about your personal page, yeah, you can have a mix. It's totally okay to let your friends and business members know that you're a Rotarian. I think generally speaking, people see that as a good thing. That said, you probably won't want to inundate them with Rotary messages. They can be somewhat boring and tedious for non-Rotarians, so you want to use a little bit of judgment there. But certainly everything on a Facebook page that is a Rotary page should be Rotary content. Okay, power of video. Use cats. That's it. We use next. I'm kidding. So the important fact, video content that's on Facebook, that's again native video, generates 2.3 times more organic reach than a photo. So, using numbers, if you just have a photo, you may be able to reach 5%, but if you have a video, you're probably going to reach something closer to 15%. So you can see the power of, and this is just a regular video. Very, very powerful. We've talked about the power of native video. Equally important is to use captions. 80% of users who watch Facebook videos watch the videos with the sound off. So they're in an environment, maybe they're at home watching TV and doing their Facebook, and they don't want to disturb their family members, other people in the room. Maybe they're on the bus, subway, maybe they're at work. They don't want their co-workers to understand they're watching videos at work, so they'll watch them with the captions off. So it's really, really important that when you put a video up that has some type of copy in it, or people talking, that you use sub-captions or you use captions. Now, the nice thing is, and I won't go through this through detail, but when you go to upload a video in Facebook, you would normally go to the publishing tools, which is at the top nav bar of your page. Click on that. Then you would go to the video library and upload your video. Click. Once your video has been uploaded, you have the option of picking a caption. You select a language, in our case would be English, and you say add captions and auto-generate. And then Facebook, through its vast warehouses of computers somewhere, who knows where they are, but they will automatically put captions on the video you uploaded. And the nice thing is it's usually pretty well done, despite how fast you talk or the accents you have or how many people are in the video. It does a decent job of doing it. It's never, I wouldn't say it's ever perfect, but it does a pretty good job. The nice thing is you can, within the same publishing tool within Facebook, go to the app and see what kind of translation it gave you. And if it's not right, you can click this little pencil here and you can edit it. And you might have to tweak it now and then, and boom, all of a sudden, for let's say a 3-minute video, it could take you as little as 3 minutes to put subtitles and captions on it, do a quick proofing on it, and there you go. You're in business with captions on your video. Okay.
Someone wanted you to run through those steps again.
Okay, unfortunately, I don't have the time to run through the steps again. This is one of those things, if you want to call me or email me, I'd be happy to walk you through that in person. Again, if you go to the hard copy of this deck and look at these pages, that's probably the best way to go. But, the best place to start is top nav, drop down where it says more, and click on Publishing Tools. And then you're going to see the following screens that I just showed you. It's going to look something like, okay.
And tags more or less in one post?
Tags, more or less in one post. I'll address this really quickly. Individual tags, so if you're calling out a business or a person, like a tag, yeah, a couple in a post is fine. Hashtags, which is a different tool altogether, no more than 3 in a post. Other than that, if you don't do that, it becomes like a hashtag wasteland where your message is getting lost in a jumble of just a mess of hashtags. And I'll show I'll show you guys what that looks really quickly later on in this presentation. Okay, so we talked about 3 minutes long if possible. If you can, strive for high quality, so HD video. Most phones today have HD, but if you don't have HD, just live with what's practical. Facebook is looking to reward people that allow their Facebook to be shown in high definition on larger screens. But if you can't do that because you don't have the tools, it'll take whatever you got. Importantly, shoot in 1 by 1. So the dimensions of the image should be 1 by 1. That's the perspective. So here's an example. A lot on the screen here, but the way you read this little chart is the numbers at the top of each one of these little images is the size of the screen. So this might be a tablet. This might be a cell phone. These sizes are not relative to each other because obviously a tablet would be bigger than a cell phone. The number in white here, the 69, is the dimensions of the image. So why we're recommending 1:1 is because an image that's as high as it is wide shows up pretty well in most formats. So this would be how a 1:1 would show up on a typical cell phone. This is how it might show up on a tablet type of a device or another tablet type of a device over here. So you're using most of the active screen. Most of the screen is filled with your image. What we're trying to avoid, because 16:9 is a popular file format for most videos, is this. If you shoot 16:9 and people see it on their cell phone, which a lot of people will be seeing it on their cell phone, your video turns out to be a very, very small part of their total screen. And the less visually engaging it is, because of how small it is, the less chance people are actually going to engage with your video. So 1:1 if at all possible. Nice thing about 1:1, it also works pretty well on Instagram and its platform. We're not talking about Instagram today. We will at another point in time, but the nice thing about Facebook and Instagram, they're both owned by the same company, and they do have, there are software packed or applications out there that allow you easily share a given video to Facebook and Instagram at the exact same time. So one click of the button, boom, you're on both platforms. So it's nice if a video in this case is the exact same dimension for both platforms to use well. Okay. Of course, add a title in the description. Make it catchy, make it informative. Don't use too many words. People don't like to read. Respect privacy and copyright laws. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this. Greatly summarize it, but I will spend some time on this. Okay, so what can we do? Taking a photo, people may or may not know this, so bear with me. Taking a photo or video of anybody in public is not illegal. You're in a public place, taking people of anybody in public is not illegal unless you are violating their reasonable expectation of privacy. So if you drag your camera into a washroom and start taking pictures of people there, that's going to be a problem because you have violated their expectation of privacy. Now, it's a subjective idea. The courts are very gray in this area. So every time it's brought before a judge, it's going to be a matter of opinion as to what was a reasonable expectation of privacy. Okay, so that's taking the photo or video. Using the photo or video is something completely different. You cannot use a photo or a video of someone taken in a public place unless you get permission of that individual. And they have to be the prominent subject of your picture or video. So if you've got people in the background, you don't have to get their permission. They're innocent bystanders. But if the person you're taking of is front and center in your video, you've got to get their permission. The best case scenario is a paper release where you get their signature. That rarely ever happens. What at minimum you should do is, before you take their pictures, approach them and say, explain who you are, explain why you have an interest in taking their picture, tell them that it may be used on Facebook on a Rotary type platform. If they don't understand who Rotary is or what we do, you may want to explain that. And to generally leave them with the impression that it is going to be for the good of the community, because that's generally what our pictures tend to do, is talk about good news stories and the good that we're doing either in our local community or internationally. Okay. Now, taking a photo on private property without permission could be illegal. In that case, you've got to abide by the rules or policy of the owner of that private property. So, for instance, let's say you're at a ball game at the Sky Dome and you take a picture. Technically, that could be illegal. I personally don't know what the rules and the policies are of Skydome for taking pictures, but it could be illegal. So if you take pictures there, and you're going to post them on social media for under the title of Rotary, you may want to just familiarize yourself with what the rules are before you take that post any further. Okay. Now, of course, video that you've taken from another source. So let's say it is another YouTube video or content you've got from somebody else's Facebook site. You just have to do a little bit of investigation to make sure that whatever content you're using is in fact shareable. No surprise, filming people as big business people who are professionals, make their living doing that, want to get paid for their efforts. So we have got to respect that, obviously. So this takes a little bit of research to understand what you're using and where it came from and whether you've got the rights to use it. Okay. Now we're going to talk about sources of content a little bit, and hopefully I'll be able to give you some ideas that's going to solve that problem. Sorry, just doing a quick time check here. Okay, we're halfway through. I think we're in good shape. So my little plug here, use the correct branding. I'm not going to dwell on it, but as you know, Rotary has new branding. It's been around now for probably 4 or 5 years, maybe even longer. So if your content has branding in it, use the right brand marks. You can go to our website or go to this link here, bit.ly/brand, and get a very simple 2 or 3 page PDF as to what the right branding looks like. And then you can go to Rotary International or just give me a call. I'll send it to you. The electronic brands that you can use in videos or images. Okay. Okay. So we talked about always posting with a purpose. Now, what are the types of posts, whether they're video or other, that get shared most often? Well, probably no big surprise. It's, breaking news stories, heartwarming stories, things that have emotion to them, practical advice. There's a huge industry out there in terms of videos giving advice. Probably a lot of the content I got this morning is from those videos. Behind the scenes content, so stuff that's a little kind of secretive and people may have an interest in knowing, or serialized stories. So, think of your soap opera where you divulge a little bit at a time and get people to come back and understand how the story evolves. So that's the type of stuff that gets shared. Now, the reality is we're Rotarians. What's the type of content we have to share? Well, it's usually, fundraising campaigns and trying to build awareness for them, or it's, what's taking place at a fundraising event. It could be talking about volunteering, planting trees or something along those lines. It could be meetings or speakers that were really interesting that we've attended, whether they're Rotarian meetings or other engagements like that. It could be check presentations. Your challenge, and it's not an easy one, is to try to get our content to come in a form that people find interesting. And it takes some thought, it takes some effort. I'm not going to give you a list of ideas right now. That's kind of beyond what we can do in an hour. But there are some great examples out there, either within our district or other districts of clubs who are doing that. A great example I'll give you right now is I'm partial. I used to be Rotarian in the club Burlington Lakeshore. They just finished a big rib fest, drive-through rib fest on July 1st here in Burlington. I think they generated $25,000. Anyways, leading up to that event and at that event and following that event, they were online on their on their Facebook channel with video content that was inspiring and told the story of what they're doing and how they're going to try to do it. So there's a perfect example how you can take a typical, or maybe not so typical, Rotary event and kind of use the hooks that make a great story.
Questions. Should we be sure to post regularly, set a schedule, repost monthly?
Definitely set a schedule. I'm not going to talk about content schedules, but as if you're responsible for your club's content, and if you're, let's say you're solely responsible, I would plan, the beginning of the week, okay, I got to do 4 posts this week and try to get them anywhere between, Monday and Friday and think about what they're going to be and plan them out a little bit. Absolutely. If you want to repost some of those, if you post something, you find, oh, it's got some engagement, it's got some traction. Yeah, you can take that and post it later on in the month if it's relevant, still relevant at that point in time. But yeah, the question is a little bit about a content plan. So people are really at, on the top of the game. They'll look at the full year at some point in the planning process and say, okay, these are the things I want to talk about this Rotary year. And so it could be about, okay, in a month, we know that we've got a fundraising event in October. So most of my posts at the end of September and the beginning of October are going to talk about promoting that event or celebrating that event and amplifying the message and the good that the event did. Or it could be taking a look at the Rotary calendar. So August is membership month in Rotary. And so you might want to start off the month of August with 2 or 3 posts that talk about the importance of or the ways to get new members into your club. So there are all kinds of little hooks and ways that you can get content. Sharing is a very important part of this platform, and I'm going to talk about where you can get content and get ideas to share. So it's not too much work. You're not expected to come out, let's say you're going to post 5 times a week with 5 original posts each and every week. Quite frankly, if you've got 2 good original posts and 3 shared posts, you're doing a great job. Okay. So talking a little bit about content, what's in it. Think about, in your own case, why do most people, or why did you join Rotary? It's probably because you want to have fellowship, friends, and fun. You want to make some kind of a difference in this world, whether it's your local city or internationally. You want to be part of a team and the joy that that brings when you've got success, and maybe also for personal growth and development. Okay, so these are all very familiar ideas to us. Hopefully, at least one of these struck a chord with you. And so you've got to understand and realize, especially this year, that a large part of your follower base for any Facebook page is and are current Rotarians. So these are the things that interest us. So your story should probably reflect these ideas in some way, shape, or form. And if they do, no surprise, they're going to resonate. Now, I say it's really important this year. The reality is all clubs this year or Rotary in general is going to have a tough year. We all like to go to, whether it's our weekly meeting or bi-weekly meeting, see our friends we haven't seen for a while, chit chat for a bit, engage in real time, have real human relationships in person. That can't happen due to COVID-19, at least not for the next little while. So if we can replicate some of that feeling and emotion virtually through Facebook and remind people what it's like to be a Rotarian in a true sense, whether it's current Rotarians or people who have interest in Rotary, that in my mind can do nothing but good for the success of your Facebook page and hopefully also the success of your club. Okay, shifting gears, we're going to talk a little bit about the power of images. So video is the best. If you can't do a video, use an image. So a Facebook post with an image will generate 3 times more engagement than a post without an image. Now, frankly, I can't even think of that many posts that don't have an image. So maybe that bar is pretty low. But find images and use them if you can't do Facebook videos. Okay, a little bit of science here. These are the types of images that tend to generate strong emotional reactions. So portraits, babies, of course, animals, images of people doing inspirational things because it's like, oh, geez, look at what they're doing. I think I can do that too. So people kind of get invested in the idea. Nostalgic images and then, overall feelings of happiness. Now, as Rotarians and thinking about our page, we probably can't leverage all these, unless we can use animals in a cute way or babies in a quite cute way, but we can probably use inspirational images or feelings of happiness. There's lots of that goes on within the Rotary world. And so we should be definitely firing on 8 cylinders for both of those categories. So strive to use those emotional hooks whenever you've got an image that you're planning to post on Facebook. Please, please, please do me a favor. Do not show images of meetings. Do not show images of Zoom calls. Do not show images of check presentations. Now, I fully realize people in this image are smiling and they're happy, and I just said that's a good thing. But the reality is these images are now just used too often. It's the same old, and after a while, people want to see something fresh. They want to see a fresh idea. And another picture of another check presentation in the same old way is just not going to do it anymore. Now, actually, I was on a webinar a couple of weeks ago, and they had an idea. Is, next time you do this type of image with a check presentation, hold the check upside down. That's going to generate some engagement because people are going to tell you got the check upside down. Or instead of showing them, that you gave let's say a food bank $2,500. Show them like how many bags of potatoes or loaves of bread that can be bought for $2,500. So you make it real. Do it in front of the location. Show, if at all possible, the organization that you're helping being helped, or more importantly, the people that are being served by that organization. Show them being helped. Now, obviously, that's not easy because it's a sensitive issue when you're taking pictures of people that need help. They typically don't want to be in the picture. That's not always the case, but sometimes you can find that image. So at minimum, get people of the organization that you're helping in the shot doing actively doing what that organization does. Okay. Again, and it's all about generating engagement. These images will not generate much engagement. Okay. Just as image or video format was important, image size is pretty important. We're not going to go through this in detail, but if you download a copy of this, you can take this as a reference. Certain sizes of images work better in certain parts of Facebook's Facebook's world. So if you've got just a regular image on your timeline, an image that's 1200 pixels by 630 pixels, that's the perfect size for that place in Facebook. If you've got a little profile picture, 180 by 180 is the size that image needs to be. So you've got the recommended image size, and if that doesn't work for you, we've got the aspect ratio. So 180 pixels by 180 pixels, the aspect ratio is 1:1. A shared image of 1200 by 630, the aspect ratio is 1.91:1, so kind of a 2:1 ratio. So use this, have this in your back pocket, so when you're cropping images, you're cropping to these dimensions. Okay, and that way they'll look beautifully within the Facebook platform. Color crop and color correct if at all possible. So hopefully you're more or less familiar with a couple of photo editing software packages. Most of them you have on your phone these days. Cropping is really important. So I'm not a photographer, but there's something called the rule of thirds, which basically says if you line up the focus or the focal point of your image with a line that represents a third of the image, so it could be this line, it could be that line, it could be this line, it could be that line, it'll make a better image. It'll seem to be like a more interesting image. So if you get the ability to do that, please do. And then, of course, color correct. I'm certainly no photographer, but there's all kinds of little tools and WYSIWYGs on my phone or on my computer that allow me to take an average picture and turn it into a good picture. And so take the time, make it look good. It doesn't really actually take that much time, but it may take some time to learn how to use the tools, but once you know how to use them, it doesn't take that much time at all. Keep it simple. A single powerful image is way better than a dozen mediocre average images. It's so tempting to want to replace quantity with quality. Take the time to take a image up front and not worry about taking a dozen average images. And once you've got it, run with it. That said, if you're going to use more than one images, cap it at 3 if you can, and use a slideshow. It's much more better than a collage, or it's better than a collage, much more better. That's not even English. It's better than a collage. So something that kind of slowly scrolls through the frame of Facebook one picture at a time is better than showing kind of a mess of 3 or more pictures at a given time. Simple memes are good. A meme, in case you don't know it, if you've seen something that looks like this, so you have an image, you've got some captions actually on the picture, that's a meme. If you can make it clever and pertinent, that's great. In the world of Rotary, maybe it looks as simple as this. So again, just marrying a strong image with a few words really gets the message across in a powerful way. And again, just as I said for videos, try to reflect these ideas of what it is to be a Rotarian in the types of images that you choose to put on your Facebook page. Okay, I'm not going to spend too much time on this part of the presentation. I will talk about the power of headlines. If it shows up, there we go. Keep it short. A headline that has 10 or 15 words, not really a headline anymore. 4 or 5 words is best. We all want to try to be clever, but sometimes it's really tempting to be clever but not so clear. So strive to be clear before you try to be too clever. Use numbers. It sounds kind of gimmicky, but top 3 reasons or three easy tools for, that kind of works, because what it does is it lays out an expectation clearly in front of the prospective reader as to what they're going to see in a post. Use emotional words. There's a cute little tool here. If you actually type in a headline and you go to this link and you type the headline in a link, it's going to give you a score for how emotional your headline is. And I've used it a few times. It has the ability to kind of rate your headline on its emotional power. So again, if it's clear and it has emotional words, the better headline it's going to be. If it's clever and confusing, but it uses emotional words, not so good. But if you want to kind of test your abilities, go to that link, type in a headline you're thinking of using, and you might be delighted or unpleasantly surprised by what you find in terms of the strength of your headline. Negative words, I know we all want to be positive because we're Rotarians, but negative words can play a role in headlines. They actually do get noticed. Maybe it's the world of news, and people tend to gravitate towards bad news. I wouldn't overuse negative words, but every now and then, whether, if you want to have a negative headline like, people within Burlington still struggling with COVID-19, that's not a happy story, but it is a type of a headline that could generate some interest. And above all, this is an art, not a science. Test and tweak. So the nice thing about Facebook is you can post something with a headline, and let's say within 6 hours you're not getting any kind of interest in it, go back in, edit it up, edit your post, change the headline, repost it, and see how it does. Maybe you'll find that a headline makes all the difference in terms of its ability to generate some interest. Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about the power of hashtags and tags within Facebook. Starting off with hashtags. So basically what hashtags do is that they create a clickable link within a post. So it helps find posts that have a common theme or a common topic. Simply put, when you click on a hashtag that you see on Facebook that's embedded in a post, it's going to bring you to a new page. It's going to open up a new page and allow you to see all the posts that have also used that exact same hashtag. It's worth noting, though, that any kind of hashtag, in Facebook are not automatically linked to the world of Twitter and the hashtags that are used in Twitter. There are ways to make that happen, but we're not going to actually cover those today. Let's consider Facebook a different realm with hashtags that are used only within that realm. Okay. If used properly, hashtags are great. They create a common community of content. It's kind of a filter, if you will, to allow people to go to a place that has all the same content. If they're used poorly, they create a big confusing mess. And I'll show you what that kind of means and what that looks like right now. Okay, so here we have a post on the right-hand side of the page. It's actually from District 770 here in Toronto, and it was this post was featuring an art show that Whitby is putting together as probably a fundraiser. And so you can see in the post, they talk about only a week left until the art show closes, and they put a couple of hashtags in. One to their district, another one to their district under a slightly different name, and then to the Whitby Art Show. So first thing you notice is they've only used a few hashtags, which is good. It doesn't overwhelm this post by having too many of them around. The hashtags that they use are very much focused on Rotary, whether it's at the district level or about specifically the art show that they're trying to promote, which is good because that'll bring the users, should they choose to click on that hashtag, to a place that has kind of common content. So you kind of know what you're getting into when you click on that hashtag, and you're going to see more posts that are themed up with that same idea. So if you click on Whitby Art Show, guess what? You're going to see all the posts that this district has used over the past weeks or months that talk about the Whitby Art Show. So it's a nice place to put all those posts in one place if you're interested in seeing them. So you can do that as a user of your Facebook page, or you can do that, as somebody coming in from the outside, just trying to get a better understanding of what this art show is about, just by clicking on that hashtag. Here's an example of an organization that is kind of abusing or misusing hashtags. So we have a business who's trying to promote a specific meal, breakfast with a view, and then they go on to put, I don't know, 15 different hashtags there that are all, not all of them, but a lot of them are fairly generic. So hashtag omelets, hashtag summer 2020. So the first thing you notice is it clutters the whole message. The second thing you notice is that when you've got a hashtag that is as general as hashtag summer 2020, if you click that, who knows where, it's going to take you to a place where that is about summer 2020, but who knows what else is going to be there when you land there. So most people will be somewhat, let's say, um, uh, restrictive or reluctant, I would say, to actually click on that hashtag. It's worth noting that this particular business doesn't own any of these hashtags. You can't actually own a hashtag. Anybody can use any hashtag on any post. Good users will kind of create a hashtag that's specific to the content they want to curate, and they won't go very general with them. And that, in a sense, will dissuade other people from using that same hashtag. Okay, so they have a good role. They can bring more attention to your posts, or they can create and curate a collection of posts that have a common theme. That's really what a hashtag's for. A couple rules of thumb: never use more than 3 at a time. Make sure that the landing is relevant, or the hashtag is relevant, and use them consistently. So back to that art show. It would be good for that art show to use that same hashtag on each and every post about that hashtag to make sure that ultimately all their content is kind of collected in one space that people can see. Okay. Okay, so let's move on to tags. So tagging is something that's similar, but at the same time very different to hashtags. You can tag in 2 ways. You can tag a friend. So let's say I've got my own personal profile and I'm putting out a little post about what I did last night and who I was with. I could just I could put a tag in that post, and if I do that, it's essentially highlighting. Let's say I want to tag I was with a friend. It would highlight to everybody that I was with a specific person, and it would actually let that person know, if I use their name in the tag, that I've mentioned their name in that tag. Okay. When you use a tag for a Facebook page, all you're basically doing is creating a link from your post to that fan page. Okay, essentially it's an easy way to drive traffic from your post to a page. So if you, let's say, you're trying to promote a sponsor of your club, it would be nice maybe, and you have a relevant way to do it, it'd be nice maybe to use a tag of that sponsor's business, which is highlighted on a Facebook page, in your post, so people can automatically go to that sponsor's Facebook page, and hopefully that helps drive business for them. Okay, so how do you do that? Pretty straightforward. I'll talk about tagging your friend first. So here you have you pop up a page, you want to write a post. I'm writing this post to say, hey, nice to see you, Jamie Ayers. If I put a little and symbol and start typing the word Jamie, all of a sudden this little pop-up will appear that says Jamie Ayers. If I click that pop-up, boom, that's what creates the tag, and that's what creates the clickable link within my post. Okay. I can do the same thing for a picture. Here's a lovely picture of my wife and son. He graduated from Laurier about a year ago. If I click on his face within this image, Facebook assumes I want to tag him in the picture. If I start writing his name, and if he's a friend of mine, he will get tagged in that picture. And so people, when they see my post, will know who that is, because his name will kind of be associated, or will be associated with that picture. Okay, I can do the same thing for my wife and her face in that picture too. Okay, a couple of things worth noting about tagging friends. If you tag someone in your post, that post can also be visible to the friends of that person who you tag. So it's a way of extending your circle of friends. Okay. That said, that doesn't always happen. If I tag somebody in a post and they have very relaxed privacy settings, that tag will be shown to my friends, their friends, and even the public. If they have very restrictive privacy settings, and that's something that they choose to do on their own Facebook profile, that tag will not be shown to, certainly not the public, maybe not to their friends, and maybe even not to my friends. Okay, so The privacy settings that the person that you tag has chosen for themselves will determine how far your tag will go. Okay. You always, as I guess the owner of your profile, have the ability to control where your tags are shown. Okay, so that's about it. We're going to now move on to the power of advocates. And as you can see, advocates are a very, very important part of building powerful posts. People are much more likely to read a post that they know comes from a friend than one that comes from a brand or company. So let's say your club has 100 members and 50 of those members are on Facebook. And each one of those 50 members goes to your club's Facebook page and shares a post to their friends. That's what we call an advocate. That individual within your club that's sharing your club's post is an advocate of what your club is doing because they're sharing your post. And there's a good chance the friends of that individual will read that post because they're getting it from a friend, not a company. So what do you do to keep advocates? Just said, ask them to go to your club's website. Ask your members to go there regularly. They're not going to see all the posts from your club come across their feed. They're only going to see a small portion of them. They got to go to your Facebook profile to find what your club has been posting. So if they do that daily or weekly, there's a greater chance they'll find something that they like and they want to share. Okay, so it's something you should really be asking your club members to do for the good of your club. Ask them to share posts with their friends, but only if they're relevant. They don't want to inundate their friends with stuff that their friends find boring. Ultimately, they're going to find their friends will, cut them off at the pass. Nobody wants that to happen. If people actually are commenting on the post on your page, acknowledge their comments. So if somebody said, great job, Facebook or Lakeshore Rotary, love that Rib Fest, acknowledge that post or that comment, put a little like, or you actually respond to it and say, thank you for liking our event. You're trying to create a conversation. So, respect that people took a bit of their time to comment to your post by curating it. If they actually leave a question, definitely reply to the question in as quickly as possible. Because that's engagement. And again, the algorithm rewards engagement like that. When to use at. Was that right? Yeah. So the question is, when do you use the @ sign? So the @ sign is used to tag people. So sorry, folks, I'm just going to go back 2 steps here. When to use the @ symbol. So if I'm in Facebook and I've got a picture of, let's say I'm using my personal profile. I've got a picture of my son. My son's also on Facebook. And I say, hey, this is a great picture of my son, Graham Dubray. If I type in the word, if I type in the symbol @ and then the word Graham, if that Facebook will show me all the Grahams I'm currently friends with on Facebook and allow me to, what they say, tag the Graham I want to tag, Graham Dubray. As soon as I do that, as soon as I post that specific post, Graham Dubray will be specifically notified that, hey, somebody's put a tag of you on their timeline, and this is what it is. So it's a way of letting people know that you've talked about them in your post. So I encourage you doing that if you think it can create some social discussion, but don't go overboard. Ultimately, people who are tagged have the ability to allow that tag to be seen by others. It's a default within Facebook. I control where my name gets shown if it's posted by somebody else. Tags aren't used too often by old folks like me. People that are millennials and 20-somethings, they tend to use them more often, but they do have a role if you want to call out somebody within the content of a specific post. Okay, so back to managing advocates. Actually, using tags could be another way to use advocates. So if you know somebody who definitely would have an interest in something you post, you could tag them within that post so they see your post for sure, and maybe if they like it so much, they'll share it with some of their friends. Okay. So here's a quick, I'm a numbers guy, sorry, but here's some quick math on the power of advocates. Let's say your club has 50 members. Each one of those members has 200 friends on Facebook. And let's say those 50 members all share a given post to their friends. Well, maybe a third of that 200 friends of each one of those people will see that post. And all of a sudden, that post generates exposure of 3,300 people. So that's good. You start with 50 members, it goes to a third of each one of those people's friends. All of a sudden, you got some pretty decent exposure for a message. And that's the power of advocacy. If I compare that to a page that has 1,000 followers, and no advocates, and they post something that gets seen by 5% of its followers, that means that post only got seen by 50 people. Compare 50 people to 3,300 people, all of a sudden the power of advocates becomes really clear. Let's say you've got a post that generates 30% sharing. So you got 100,000 followers, you post something, it's really good content, the algorithm shares it to more people, 33% of your followers see it, only 330 people get to see that post. So again, compare 330 to 3,300, and you recognize what advocates can do. It also acts like a bit of a Kickstarter, if you will, a catalyst to get the post recognized by Facebook's algorithm so more and more people see it. Okay, so this is a very, very important part of success on Facebook. Corporations today will ask, bribe, incent their employees to become advocates of their Facebook pages for the simple reason of they understand its power. Okay, hopefully, Rotary. Think about Facebook, it's almost perfectly designed for organizations like Rotary, where nobody's paid here, but we're all trying to do the same thing within the confines of our organization and/or our clubs. So it should be a pretty easy ask to get advocates to, go to your profile page on a regular basis and share posts that are important for your club. Okay, I'm not going to go through this in detail, but there are some places where you can go to get good content. So again, if you're planning 4 or 5 posts a week, plan on 2 original posts, borrow 3 or 4. Go to the district Facebook page. That's a good place to find hopefully some content that is worth sharing within our district. Definitely encourage you to join our Facebook group. Now, our Facebook group is different than our page. Anybody can see our page. Our Facebook group is meant for Rotarians within our district, so it's kind of a closed environment. It's more of a place to kind of, let your hair down, talk about what's real within your community, within your club, within the district. And you have to essentially be granted permission to join that community. I'm one of the admins for that page, so as long as you're a Rotarian in good standing, you're more than welcome to join that group, and I definitely encourage everybody to do that. Facebook International, from Facebook on Rotary International, another great source of content. Neighboring Facebook districts, Toronto or Hamilton, other great places for content. The Brand Center for Rotary International, big place to get images and videos that you can use, but not worrying about trademarks. Vimeo and YouTube have videos as well. Some of them may have trademarks issues associated with them, but it is a good place that you can use some of the videos there that aren't trademarked in specific ways. Our own homepage, every month we put out a bulletin that's got 6 or 8 different stories. Maybe some of them are worth sharing on your page. Get the word out. That's another group. It's Michelangelo Caruso's group. He is the communications coordinator for our zone. He puts out a really good hub where he's posting ideas on how to generate interest in Rotary. Okay, so go to those places if you're looking for ideas at any point in time. You'll never be wanting for the ability to share something good. You'll find it there for sure. Okay, quickly, a couple of creative development tools. So you're in a position of creating content. Here are a few tools that are going to help you out. There's a product called Canva. I definitely recommend that everybody uses. It is, I just discovered it a year ago. I think it's probably been around for 4 or 5 even longer years. It makes finding images that you have the rights to and videos that you have the rights to really, really easy. And it makes finding them in the format that can be used on Facebook or other social media platform is really, really easy. It's made as a tool to find images, grab them, use them in posts. That's its reason for being. So go there, sign up. So when you get there, the page is going to look something like this. The nicest thing about it, it is free for nonprofits. So if your club is any one of these 3 things within Canada, you can get a free account. Now, if you don't get a free account, it's not the end of the world. I think Canva only costs about $15 a month, but it's got millions and millions and millions. I think it's 60 million images and millions of videos that you can use that are downloadable, that are searchable. It is indispensable for original content, so go use it. Okay. PowerPoint, I'm going to kind of zoom through this really quickly. A couple other tools. PowerPoint, if you don't know how to use PowerPoint today, it is one of the tools. It's got a lot of power to it. It allows you to do a lot of interesting things. I obviously did this presentation on PowerPoint, but you can do basic photo editing in PowerPoint. You can do animations and morphs within PowerPoint. You can do screen captures within PowerPoint. You can do GIFs and slideshows within PowerPoint. A lot of stuff that's really easy to do that is done in a lot more complicated software is possible in PowerPoint. Windows Windows 10 video editor, sorry. Really good for video editing if you want to do some basic stuff. Audacity music editor, a free piece of software, gives you the basics to edit music. And then Snip and Sketch, which is a little tool that comes with Windows 10. Really encourage you how to use that too. It allows you to grab stuff and images off your screen that you can embed in other presentations or on your posts. Okay. So if you're serious about getting some good content that's original, definitely look into these tools. They'll go a long way. And again, if you have questions about them, track me down. I'm happy to talk to you on the phone about where to find them or how to use them. Okay. Okay, now we're going to talk about tracking success. As I mentioned, I spent 30 years in marketing. The last 15 years of my career was as a consultant in consumer research. So I spent a lot of time with organizations tracking their effectiveness in terms of their marketing activities and their insights. So I'm a big fan of numbers. I really do believe what gets measured gets managed. So as soon as you kind of commit to measure something, it easily leads to it being managed and managed for the good. Okay. Before we get too deep, let's talk about some terms that you need to know. Number one, this is all Facebook terminology that is key to tracking. Followers, i.e., not too surprisingly, it's the current number of people or unique Facebook users who follow your page. So let's use our district fan page, for example. So right now, I think we've got roughly just shy of 1,400 followers. So those are people who have chosen to follow what we are doing, and what those followers will, in turn for following us, those people will on occasion see what we're posting on our fan page. Oops, let's go back. Fans are similar to followers. Fans are essentially a subset of followers. So anybody who has gone to, again, let's say the district page, and they said, I like this page, they automatically become a follower. So you can be a follower, but not like a page, but you cannot like the page without being a follower. So fans are a subset of followers. Within Facebook tracks where people live. So it's sometimes pretty interesting to understand where your fans are based, where they live. What I look for, because I'm in charge of the district page, is I look for people who are living in the cities where our clubs are. Those are the fans I want to understand and grow over time. I'm not so interested in fans that are based, let's say, in the States. They may have a passing curiosity for what we're doing on our fan page within our district, but it's really the people within our communities that I want to attract to our fan page on the district level. Page views, that is the number of times that people actually, Facebook users, choose to go to your page profile and see what's going on. So obviously the higher the page views you have in a given period of time, the more interest your page is generating amongst Facebook users, and that's a good thing. You want to track that. Post count, every 4 weeks I take a look at how many posts I have published for the district or shared on our page from other pages. And it's good to kind of keep a number in mind. Ideally, I want to do about a post a day. So if I see 30 or so every month, I've kind of done my job. If I see less than that, I've got to pick up my socks and do more posts. So maybe that's something that you should be looking at as well in terms of how many posts are you doing every month. Post reach, very, very important metric, is the total number of people you've been able to reach in a given period with all of the posts that you did in that period. And then post engagement, that's what we're here to talk about today. It's the number of times your posts were able to generate a comment, a share, or a click, or a like. It's some way that some people have engaged with what you decided to post on Facebook, okay? And you want to see that going up over time, okay? So just a quick FYI, this is what period 1, period 0, period 1. These are the first essentially 8 weeks at the helm here at the district. I'm looking at followers, page views, new posts, reach. I take a look at the posts that have the highest individual reach, and I also look at total engagement. And again, I'm tracking these month by month and over the course of the year, and I'm hoping to see, and I'm working to see growth on all of these things. Interesting stat, in total, our district has over 23,000 followers, and there may be some duplication in that number. People that follow the district could also follow a club, but it's a high number. So it kind of speaks to the power we have as a district to reach out and talk to people. Okay. So where do you get all this information? The beautiful thing is Facebook is busy tracking all this stuff for you. Whether you want to use it or ever use it, it's there for you to look at any point in time, okay? So how to do it, it's very, very simple. Go to your club's page. Click on the top nav bar, probably under more here. You click this little chevron, a little pop-up appear, and you'll see the word insight. That's what you want to click to get all those numbers, okay? When you click on that, you're going to be brought to this page, and it is an overview. So it's a bit of a dashboard of numbers here that make assessing your performance pretty easy to do. So the first thing I do is I click, overview pops up. I will click a time frame. I look at the numbers every 4 weeks, and then all these numbers in the dashboard are populated accordingly to what's happened over the past 28 days. Did I say weeks? It's 28 days. So page views, I've had 100 page views in the past 28 days. I've reached 1,240 people over the past 28 days, and I've generated engagements 256 times. So people either shared a link or commented on a link or gave me a thumbs up or a happy face or something along those lines, okay? So that's where I start to fill out, part of my tracking is on this overview page, okay? I want to track my followers, want to try to get this up over the course of the year. So if I click on the follower button on this left-hand nav, I will see how many followers I currently have. And this chart here, not so interesting because it's kind of flat, will show you if your followers are going up or down over time. I'm looking at this at a period of time. This graph here looks like it's a total of 1 month. I'll probably want to look at this graph on a longer term basis so I can see it slowly, hopefully trending up over the course of a year. Okay. Next, I mentioned about finding where your followers are from. So here I click on people on the left nav. I click on my followers at the top of the page, and it'll show me what country they're from. So we have roughly, what was it? It was 1,395 followers, of which 901 are from Canada. So I actually want to increase this Canada number. And more specifically, I want to increase, the numbers from Mississauga, Kitchener, Burlington, Oakville, because that's where our clubs are located. It's nice to have 294 followers in Toronto, but it's really the people in my community that I want to speak to with our efforts. So these are the numbers in the specific cities that I want to see increase over time, okay? And then most importantly, and this is where the learning comes in, I want to see how our posts are doing. So here I'll go in, I'll take a look at our case, the last 28 days, and I'll physically count how many posts I did. And I'll do that every 28 days. And then what I'll do is I'll say, okay, how did my posts do? Where did I see lots of reach or where did I see lots of engagement? And I'll go down to that post and say, oh, looks like this one did pretty good. What was this? Oh, this was a video. Okay, you can see this by this little icon here that talked about the power of Rotary connections. And remember, we talked a lot about the power of video? Here you go. This video post was very powerful. It was seen or was reached to reach more people than anybody by a long margin. Most of these other posts were just images. So it tells me if I want to reach more people, I should do more videos. What type of, what happened when we got that reach? In most times we see, there was either a reaction or simply a click. People clicked on it to get more information. There might have been a link embedded in that post. So spending some time on this dashboard and understanding what worked for you and what didn't work for you will over time help you to build content that works for you. You'll stop doing things that fail, and you'll start doing things that you know work. And so that's the power of measurement. You know, as soon as, in my mind, there's magic that happens as soon as you set a goal for yourself, hopefully over the course of this Rotary year. Once you know you've kind of committed to yourself, at least, that you're going to grow something, you want to see how you're doing on that journey to growth. And like I said, Facebook makes it very, very easy to do because it tracks all the numbers for you. You just have to go in and take a look at them. Okay, there we go. So that's it for today. I do thank you for your time. It's a beautiful Saturday morning, and I want to get you on your way. Just a quick FYI, there are some more webinars coming up. There's one in August about how to refresh the club website and a few easy steps. Club Runner is a great tool. And so that webinar is going to focus on how to use a couple of widgets within Club Runner to give your Facebook your website a new face, a facelift. In September, we're going to talk about actually shooting and editing video for social media. I won't be doing that. We're going to get an expert in to help us with that. And then finally in October, we're going to talk a little bit about Instagram. So not a lot of clubs are using Instagram today, and that's okay. My focus is on Facebook, and make sure you got Facebook firing on all 8 cylinders before you move to Instagram. But if you're there already on Facebook, now it's time to move to Instagram because it's a great way to bring younger people into the Rotary family. Okay, here we go. Thank you again for your time and attention. Any questions, please give me a call or send me an email. Take care.